Hi, everyone. We are live for the very first episode of the Brand Better web series. I'm so excited to be here with you guys, and it's 7 o'clock my time. I am coming to you live from Malta. I know someone out there might be thinking you have no idea where Malta is, and to be honest, before I moved here 3 months ago, I had no idea where Malta was either. I couldn't even point it out on a map. So just in case you are curious and you don't know anything about Malta, it is a tiny island in the middle of the Mediterranean. It's right off of the coast of Italy. And it is gorgeous here. Obviously, if I could show you right now, it's kind of getting dark for me, but if I could turn the camera around and show you out the window, you would see that there is a beautiful Mediterranean Ocean right outside of my window. So I feel so incredibly lucky, so incredibly blessed to be coming to you from a place that I really love. Part of the reason why I live here in Malta, what has to do with my story, I'm Nicole Harlow, and I am a web designer and a branding expert. I'm also a yoga teacher and meditation teacher and kind of all around like hippie, hippie type. I had for a long time, my biggest goal was to be location independent. And it took me about 8 years to finally get to this point where I am location independent. I work, have laptop, have Wi-Fi, I am good to go. I live in a beautiful place on the Mediterranean. I live cheaply. I have a beautiful apartment that I love. And really that is the blessing that's come with putting 8 years of really, really hard work into my business. And I still have a lot more left to do, and I still have, some big dreams that I'd like to achieve, but that is one of the reasons why I'm here and why I feel so blessed right now. I love running an online business. Like I said, I've been doing various online things for eight or 9 years now, and I'll get into that a little bit more. But the main thing I wanted to say to start is just I'm so happy that you're here. I'm excited, I'm nervous, I'm feeling quite a welling of emotion right now. And usually when I'm in that state, and I just think like all of us are in that state of feeling excited about our businesses, a little bit nervous about our businesses and learning a new skill. So I thought maybe we could just take a moment. Like I said, I'm a meditation teacher, so I feel like it's always good in the beginning when the energy is high and the energy is excited, to just take a moment and take a nice, big, deep breath. And a big smile. I feel like this is the best way to start anything, is with a big, deep breath and a nice, big smile. So with that, and with no further ado, I'm going to turn the camera to my screen so I can go through the screencast for today, which is all about creating opt-in quizzes that convert. So let's go. Okay. Share my entire screen, yes. And hopefully you can see my screen here. Hopefully you can also hear me and see me. I think my video is a little bit out of time, so I hope that that is not a problem. Let's see. Okay, so here we are at Create Quizzes That Convert. And I made this presentation with Prezi, which I could also do another webinar about because it's a program that I really love to create really cool presentations. I usually do my presentations full screen, but I'm kind of navigating this Google Hangouts on air for the first time, and I'm not sure if it's going to show my entire screen. So I am hoping that it will be fine. So create quizzes that convert. So who am I? I am Nicole Harlow, and here is a little bit of my official bio, is that I'm the creative director of Nicole Harlow Design Studios, Lady Boss Creative, and lead teacher here at Brand Better. I am passionate about web design and great branding, and I spend my time creating gorgeous custom websites and creative branding for entrepreneurs, hippie mamas, bendy yoga teachers, kick-ass coaches, artists making the world beautiful one print at a time, vintage store mavens, clothing labels, and other indie businesses. So where you can find me on the web, you can find me over at Nicole Harlow Design Studio, where I do web design and branding to make you look flawless. And over at Nicole Harlow Design Studio, you'll find me kind of writing and talking a lot about things that I love, which is pretty things and my unhealthy obsession with Beyonce. Very unhealthy obsession with Beyonce. You can also find me over at brandbetter.co, which is a sister website, my design, which is a creative friendly space where you'll learn how to brand better. And over at brandbetter.co, I have a series of free videos that you can sign up for, where you can learn more about branding and communicating your why, etc. So somewhere else you can find me online, which is pretty exciting, is about a week and a half ago, I launched my first podcast. So you can listen over at the Spirited Entrepreneur podcast. And Spirited Entrepreneur podcast is a podcast for cultivating intention, awareness, and flow in your business. So the episodes will range from meditation, guided meditations, to I would say like an analysis of both the spiritual aspects of entrepreneurship and the practical aspects of entrepreneurship as well. So I like to create a mixture between the two. And you can find it over on iTunes or on the website itself. The last place that I wanted to tell you that you can find me over on the web is at the Spirited Entrepreneurs Mastermind group, which is a closed group that I run over on Facebook. If you find me on Facebook or if you just email me, I can send you an invitation to join the Spirited Entrepreneurs Mastermind. And I think tomorrow, either tonight or tomorrow, depending on how this webinar goes, I'm going to send out a list of show notes. So in the show notes, you'll have all kinds of links to things that I talk about in the presentation, places where you can find me online, etc. So moving on from who I am to a little bit about my business. So I am picking to show you straight off the bat this really, really atrocious logo. This is the first logo that I ever made. It was 9 years ago. And I look at it now and I say, oh my God, I drew it on the back of a folder, like a yellow manila folder. I cut that woman out of a piece of paper. And I think I took a picture of it and tried to preliminarily take it into Photoshop. I'm showing you this embarrassingly, one, to kind of humanize myself, and also just to show you that everyone has to start somewhere. And this is the place where I started. And this is, it's as embarrassing as it is, I think it's important to go back to the start and see where you came from and see how far you've come. So I look at the work that I do now, and I can't believe that I get paid to create things like logos and websites for people. That to me is just so exciting. I love looking back on what I've done to see how far I've come. And also I'm showing this to you just to say, if you feel like you don't have the skills, if you feel like the skills aren't there, just keep going. You know, it just gets up. You just keeps going up from here. You just keep learning more skills. You just keep practicing. So yeah, I just wanted to show you where I started, how I started. Pop Fizz Burlesque was my very first business that I ran when I was right out of college. It was a burlesque company where we taught burlesque classes for women, for female empowerment, bachelorette parties, etc. And yeah, so this is the first logo. And moving on, this was the second iteration of the logo. A little bit better, took it into Photoshop. It's still really, really corny. I look at it and just groan to myself like, oh my God, I can't believe that. I can't believe that I made that. But you know what? It shows the trajectory. And here's a picture of one of the first classes that I taught years ago. And it just shows the kind of black and the blue color scheme. So this is how I was really cutting my teeth with branding. I was really poor and I didn't have any money to put into my business. And so I just had to do everything myself. I just taught myself everything. So yeah, so Pop Fizz was really the first project that I worked on. And this is kind of how the website looked towards the end. It's not a company that I run anymore, so this is probably about 5 years old, this website, but I wanted to show you this because it's the first website that I ever made about 5 years ago. And that's how I cut my teeth on web design. I'm not professionally trained. I didn't go to school for, excuse me, taking a drink of water. I didn't go to school for web design. I didn't go to school for any design, actually. I went to school for psychology and women's studies, gender studies, sexuality studies. So quite different than design, but this is to say that everything that's led me to the point where I'm at right now was just a product of what you're doing right now, hopping on webinars, finding YouTube videos, finding courses, finding free and paid courses that I could be involved in, finding any way to fill the gap between my knowledge, my skill level, and what I know that I needed to do. So yeah, that's a little bit about Pop Fizz Academy. Before I get into why quizzes, yeah, just a few other little things about me. I know a lot of you on the call don't know me and have never done any kind of training with me. In 2013, I wrote a best-selling book called Chakra Detox. It's all about detoxing and nutrition and juice fasting and things like this. I spent a few years where I was teaching yoga and meditation almost full time. I was a freelance writer within those periods a few times. And I've been running my own design studio for a little under 2 years now. And yeah, so the things that I've described to you in terms of business ideas that I've had or businesses that I've run, that is really only scratching the surface. We could probably have a whole webinar just explaining different kinds of things that I've done, different kinds of really exciting projects, and also things that have unfortunately or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, have just gone onto the cutting room floor for whatever reason. Lots of product-based ideas, lots of food-based ideas that I've had in the past, but I'm a big traveler. I've lived all over the world. I live in Europe now. I've lived in England and Greece and lots of other places in America, and have just, my whole life is kind of pared down to a few backpacks, and that's it. So the life of a digital entrepreneur and working online really did appeal to me. Just the ability to, like I said, take my backpack and just travel the world. So I knew a few years ago that I really had to put my heart and soul into making this online business work. And at this point, even though I had been in business for quite some time, at this point, I still didn't have any money to put into my business. And so everything for me has really been a testimony or a practice in being as lean as possible and paring down all of the excess that I need, just, you know, to get to what I really need to do. So yeah, thank you so much for listening to this part about who I am. And yeah, just want to start with why quizzes. So you're obviously here because you're curious about learning about how quizzes can help to build your business, build your mailing list, and also really just delight and please your clients, your ideal customers. I'm not gonna lie though, building a quiz does take time, and you do need some technical knowledge, which is something that you're gonna learn over this webinar. But once you put in the work, quizzes will continue to grow your mailing list passively while you're sleeping, while you're at the gym, while you're working on other projects. So I see quizzes as an awesome opportunity to not only grow your list, but also show your audience that you understand them and care for them. You actively want to know more about them and provide value to their lives. See, when you thoughtfully sit down and plan out your quiz with intention, and you feel like I do, when you get an email from someone who took your quiz telling you that you totally nailed it and that their quiz results were really spot on. And quizzes can also provide tremendous value to your business by giving stats and numbers about your audience that you might not have gotten any other way. I think the last thing that I really love about quizzes is they can really help set your business apart from other offerings in your industry. Like, you know, customers have gotten really wary of signing up for another free ebook or special report that they know that they'll never read. I mean, I certainly am wary of signing up for anything new right now. But when you can make results that are really tailored to your audience, you can convert leads at a higher, more targeted level. And plus, I think that pretty much everyone loves quizzes. Like, I know that I do, and I think it's probably what keeps something like BuzzFeed or Cosmo Magazine in circulation, is just that, like, essentially we're all quite selfish and we love to just learn more about ourselves. So I feel like if you can nail the quiz, then you can really nail this idea of growing your mailing list through some kind of quiz for your audience. So here's the screen grab of the quiz that really kicked it all off for me. So the quiz is one that I built a few months ago, and to date, it's my highest converting opt-in. So this is the What's Your Brand Style quiz, and I've tested things like ebooks. I had a free 10-day meditation challenge, and some branding guides that went out, and also like a web design checklist that I was doing too. And none of those converted anywhere near what my brand style quiz does. And you can see here, like, this is what I show people that are trying to take the quiz, and you can see this different guides that you get. So it kind of gives you a little bit of a flavor of what you might get at the end of it. It's a 10-page download, a 10-page like free brand style guide. And I don't want to ruin all the surprises that come with the autoresponder sequence. So if you haven't taken the quiz yet and you want to see exactly what it's like to go through the sequence, I'm going to send out an email right after the show with some notes and links, and I'll be sure to add a link to the quiz so you can try it out. I've also set up quizzes for clients too, some of my web design clients, but I'm going to be just using the brand style quiz to go more in depth into the process that I went through to create the quiz. That started from the deeper why behind the quiz to the technical process of putting it all together. So we're going to go through that together tonight. So what are the 3 tools that you'll need? Now, there are other ways to do this, but the way that I'm going to be teaching you, which I think is the simplest, but it does require a little bit of monetary investment. I don't know a way that you can do this completely for free. So just to put that out there, that in order to do it this way, you will have to invest some money. I don't think that it's a lot comparatively. So you'll need a plugin called Viral Quiz Builder, which I'll go over that a little bit deeper, as we go through the training. You'll need a WordPress website, And you also need a mailing list provider. Now, if you don't have all three of these, still watch the rest of this webinar and take some notes so that you'll be ready to implement all three of these things when you have all the pieces together. Because as soon as you have them and you know how to do it, you can move quite quickly. And like I said, I'll be sending out a list of links and things. So I'll send lists to my favorite mailing list providers, a link to Viral Quiz Builder. And I assume that you probably already have a website. But if you need any help with that, you can let me know and I can definitely give you some tips. So getting started. I am going to talk for a little bit without slides, just about the first 5 steps that you'll go through when you're creating a quiz. And I'm going to be interspersing some stories about my own quiz and how I came to create this process and how I thought about it. So kind of what were the thoughts in my mind when I was developing the quiz. Just going to take some water. Okay. It's really humid here in Malta, so I'm kind of sweating a bit. So before you start, I think the first thing that you need to do is figure out the why for your quiz. For me, that was, my why was to create a quiz that was fun and delightful for my audience, but that would also secretly pack a powerful punch of info and value. So I wanted my audience to take what they thought was kind of a fun and frivolous quiz, but then they would get this like really serious, cool branding guide at the end of it that was going to give them lots of like actionable material that they can use. I also wanted the quiz to be something that they've never really experienced in such a way before. And I was really adamant that I wanted the quiz and the result sequence, so the autoresponder sequence, to feel really friendly, conversational, and familiar too. So I think it's also really important not only to sit down and figure out your why, but also to sit down and ask yourself who your ideal customer really is. So who do you want this quiz to speak to? And ultimately, what do you want this quiz to invoke in your ideal customer? So how do you want them to feel? What would you like them to do? And what would you like, how would you like this to affect your business, both in the way that people perceive your business, but also in the actual actions that they take? So are there specific services and products that naturally tie in with the quiz? So I see step 1 was just sitting down with a pen and paper, you know, if you roll old school, or your laptop, and just jam on some ideas about who your ideal customer is, what you'd like your quiz to provide your customer, and also how it ties into what you're trying to sell. I think once you're clear on this step of the process, then you can move forward to step 2. And once you move forward to step 2 after this part of the process, you won't be feeling so overwhelmed. And you're also not going to be trying to create a quiz that's for everyone. So you don't want a quiz that's for everyone with answers, like you don't want a quiz that represents every possible answer that you could have. You actually want a streamlined quiz that speaks to your ideal client and guides them into a segmented list based on your preferences. That's something that we'll get into next. So step 2, is actually, it's kind of jumping into the end of the process. So first you start out with why, and you start out with who. Like, why do I want to create this quiz, and who is this quiz for? At step number 2, you jump to the end of the process and you spend some time crafting the answer. So you start spending some time crafting the results. And I'm really sure that you're familiar with the concept of reverse engineering, and that definitely helps here. So that's the process that we're going to be using. So I was thinking backwards through my own quiz, and I sat down to do that, and I had 2 things in mind. Number 1, I knew I wanted to tangibly know some details about the type of women that visit my site or that follow me on social media. And 2, I wanted to serve 3 distinct groups of women, and I wanted to provide value for all 3 of those groups. And I thought the way to do this would be to allow the people in my orbit to pretty much self-select into these different groups using the guise of a quiz. I mean, it wasn't it wasn't manipulative, like I was trying to rub my fingers together and get these women in different groups. But I just thought that the quiz would be a way for a win-win situation for everyone. I would get some insight and knowledge about my ideal audience and the people who were in my orbit and paying attention. And the women who are in my orbit would get some value, some cool value in return. So what I did is I sat down and I divided my potential ideal audience into 3 main categories. So this is like, I'm using some intuition at this point, and I'm trying to think of who do I think that my ideal customers are, and not only that, but who do I think is actually following me. So what are they like? What are their kind of key characteristics? So I broke them down into 3 categories. You have the bohemian babe. She's like a hippie, kind of free people type of girl. We got the girl next door who's like a smart, friendly anthropology / J. Crew type of girl. And then finally, there's the ultra luxe femme, who I saw as a kind of like high-end, loving, ultra modern type lady, someone who loves to buy, like the finest of everything, is like quite into designer labels and just luxe, like luxe everything. So I put them into these 3 separate groups. And as I ran the quiz, I really wanted to see what kind of feedback I got on the quiz. And I also wanted to see what the numbers were. And the numbers were important to me because I wanted to make sure that my branding was speaking to my ideal customers. At the time, I was just about to initiate a rebrand. I was moving part of my attention from solely being orbiting and operating around my personal brand over at Nicole Harlow Design, and I wanted to move into brandbetter.co. I mean, at this point, I didn't even have a name for Brand Better. I was, toying with different things like Lady Boss and this and that, and my initial design concepts were filled with lots of like luxe elements, things like gold icons and minimalist modern fonts, combined with a monochrome black and white color palette. But when I saw my numbers, I actually stopped in my track and went into a completely new direction, because check it out, this is what my numbers told me. So I saw that about 45% of my audience identified in the girl next door category. 31% identified in the bohemian babe category, which totally makes sense to me since I am a bohemian babe, so it makes sense that I would attract more of that particular tribe, especially since I think I still have some people in my orbit who were fans from when I was teaching yoga and teaching meditation and writing about nutrition and things like that. So that made sense to me. But only 21% of my audience fell into the ultra luxe femme category, and those numbers have stayed pretty consistent. And what this meant for me was that, maybe it was time to rethink the gold dipped luxe everything, lady boss, brand aesthetic, and opt for something else that spoke to the group of women that was now comprising over 78% to 80% of my audience. So basically, I chose, I went in a completely different direction for the branding styles for brandbetter.co. And instead, I went for something that was clean, fresh, juicy. It had the vibe of like teals and bright orange and yellow, and I'm sure that you've seen it for the branding. Just signing up for these webinars, I've tried to keep it pretty consistent across my website and across the webinars and across the social media branding. So staying with that kind of greeny, teal, orange, yellow. And I also was like thinking about a font that was friendly and open, and creating the website with lots of white space around it so that there would have some more like friendly open space in the branding. Really, if I hadn't created the brand style quiz, I never would have gained that valuable insight that helped me decide a direction to move my new brand in. And the reason why I kind of went off on this tangent to tell you about that part is I just think building a quiz does a really good job at highlighting, highlighting the double duty nature of it, which is not just providing lots of value for your audience, but also giving you really valuable insight about who your ideal customer actually is. And really, it might not be who you think it is, because that's kind of what happened to me. So for step number 2, here's what I want you to do. I want you to sit down and reverse engineer the outcomes for your quiz. I'd recommend picking, I would say, 2 to 3 groups for participants to be funneled into. And you'll see why I say 2 to, I just don't go over 3 really. And the reason why I say this, because the more that we move into the tutorial, you'll see that the more answers you have and the more like results that you have, the more complicated it gets to put all the pieces together, and it just makes so much more work for you. So I think if you can get to 2 or 3, that would be perfect. It depends on what your service is. Like if you have 2 separate services, like you might want to start with 2. If you have like, there are 3 populations that you would like to work with, then maybe you want to stick with 3. So you're going to separate out 2 to 3 possible results for your quiz. Just like my Bohemian Babes, Girl Next Doors, Ultra Luxe Femmes, I just want you to pick 2 to 3 result groups. And these results, they can totally be based on what you want your audience to do or buy. For example, like if I was going to make a quiz right now, a branding quiz, for example, I might have my participants funneled into 2 separate categories. So one category would be for people who, through the result of the questions, have shown me that they're ready to DIY their brand. And they would link up eventually to my Brand Better course. And then there'd be another category for people who have a bit more money, they're ready to invest, working with a professional, maybe they've been in business for a few years, or they just really value the work of doing it right the first time and really working with a professional. They just don't want to waste their time, and that would link them to my web design and branding services. This is a fictional quiz, but like if I was going to, I would probably just have 2 results, that took them in one direction or the other direction. And the results would be tailored to those specific people, and it would funnel in an intelligent way right into, naturally and intuitively into the services or the products that I provide. So once you know your results group and how these groups naturally tie in with your products or services, it's time to create the result material. Moving us on to step 3. Step 3 is creating some kind of material, content, or copy for your results. It's up to you how you do this, and those of you who have gone through the brand style quiz that I have, you will already know that I supplied your results not only as a 10-page PDF branding guide, but also with a tailored playlist from Spotify and a tailored Pinterest board. So I got creative and I just thought, okay, what are some ways that I could do something unexpected that not other people I know are doing? I don't see people like necessarily giving out playlists and Pinterest boards. So I kind of really tried to get into the psychology of the women behind each of the 3 groups and think about what they would like specifically, and thinking about songs they would like and outfits that they would like to wear. And I just found it really fun. I mean, I loved the whole process of kind of digging deep into the psychology of each person. And then it wasn't just, digging into the psychology. It was also, something was so sweet and really trying to capture what each person in the group would love. And I just received so many sweet emails from people after that quiz that they were so pleasantly surprised to get these little unexpected gifts, and they told me how much the quiz results felt really tailored to them. And I think it is because I just took the time to really think about that person, that woman in the archetype and what she would really enjoy. And then allow that to kind of reflect through the quiz. So, you know, you can be really as creative as you like here, and you can offer your audience results material that will entertain, delight, or just really help them out in their life. And something I wanted to point out particularly is that not all quizzes have to be fun. So you don't have to think about the quiz as being something that's like fun and frivolous and, you know, Cosmo magazine. You can create quizzes for things like health problems, marital issues, grief, body image problems, confidence, etc. It just depends on what fits for your industry. So I just wanted to put that out there, that just because I'm saying things like entertain, fun, or delight, it doesn't mean that your quiz necessarily has to be that. I mean, you can create a very in-depth, valuable quiz. That's a serious quiz as well. And the information below that after, you know, in this webinar, it all applies. It's just, I decided to come from a place of fun, but I wanted to make sure that even with the fun, that there was lots of helpful material and actionable material that was kind of woven in with the experience. And I very much saw it as an experience too. Not just a quiz, but something that would last for days afterwards. And yeah, and hopefully, you know, the people who are in the quiz on the last day, they get invited to join the private Spirited Entrepreneurs group, and then the conversation can continue going, you know, and they can continue to stay on my mailing list and hear from me weekly about, you know, deep issues that I'm facing, or maybe listen to the podcast, or just find another way to connect with me. So yeah, I think I personally think that something like a nice PDF download that includes some actionable steps that relate directly to the quiz results. It's a very simple, great idea. I mean, this is something that you could obviously start with, but really the sky's the limit if you wanted to send, you know, a video yoga class or a video coaching session, you know, for the different groups. So you've decided that you have this quiz that funnels people into whether they're having work-related problems or they're having home-related problems. I know you can't really separate them like this, but let's just say, for example, so you separate them out into the two groups, and then you send a 3-part video coaching series that addresses the issues in both of those groups, and it's really highly specific and tailored. So yeah, audio meditation is a great idea. I just think the PDF is probably the simplest to execute without a lot of technical knowledge, and it is what people expect. So I wouldn't feel the pressure to go crazy creative and do something that's never been done before, but just know that there are so many options, and really you can just sit down and the sky's the limit for what you can do. So, I mean, something that I will say is that creating the PDF or the PDFs, because you'll need one for each of your groups, this can be totally like a time-consuming part of the process. So I would really set aside, I think for me, I set aside a day or two to write out all the results content and create a nice PDF download for people. Now, just as a side note, because I wanted to walk you through all of the parts of this process, for creating the PDF, I would definitely recommend using canva.com to create free PDFs, and there's lots of different pre-designed templates that you can use, or you can hire a graphic designer to design your PDF for you if that's in your budget. And don't forget that you need to have results content for each of your groups. You might want to use the same base for all of your results. So like use the same base PDF for all the results and just tailor the content to each one, because so for me, my quiz was about branding, so I wanted to make sure that each result PDF was completely different and reflected the personality of the brand style. But that doesn't mean that you necessarily have to do it that way. You can just create like a solid base and then just change the information for each group. So we are moving on to step 4, and it's about to get a little bit more interactive here. Thank you so much for just sitting and listening, and hopefully you're taking some notes and brainstorming, and ideas are just popping up left, right, and center. But for step 4, so once you're at this point and you have your PDF download, your video, or any other little gift that you're going to be sending with your results, it's time to set up those results in your mailing list autoresponder sequence. So you need to make sure that you have a mailing list provider that allows you to send autoresponder messages. So MailChimp, GetResponse, Aweber, etc., etc. If you don't know this, you can either sign up for a mailing list provider or talk to your provider to see how you can set up an autoresponder. So autoresponders are usually a premium feature, so you need to be prepared to spend about $8 to $12 per month to send out an autoresponder sequences. Now, to be honest, I am really cheap when it comes to business, and I only pay for the bare minimum of what I need to run my business. Like I told you in the beginning, I am like a lean, mean machine when it comes to business. And I just was trained, military trained pretty much when I started my business. I didn't have any money, so like I cut any necessities. And I'm like that with everything in my life. I mean, you can fit my whole life in probably the trunk of a car. So I am lean in all senses of the word. But I do see the $8 to $12 paying for an autoresponder service. I do see this as a necessary evil. So once you have your quiz, I just think that it's worth paying for, because once you have your quiz and you set up your autoresponder sequence, you can communicate and connect with your audience and provide value while you're sleeping, while you're working, while you're on business or you're on vacation. Like once it's set up, you just set it and forget it. Like you don't have to worry about it again. Something that you will have to do is in your mailing list provider, you will need to create a new list for each of your results groups. This is so you can send tailored results to each group specifically, and you can see the numbers as they grow too. I'm going to show you in just a minute, walk you through the steps of how I do this with my own mailing list provider. I use GetResponse. I know not everybody uses them. I was with MailChimp for a long time. I switched to GetResponse. I'm really happy where I am right now. The steps might be slightly different for your mailing list, but when you find out who you're with, you can always give them a call or Google it, and I'm sure that there'll be people who are ready to show you how to set up an autoresponder sequence. Okay, let me just walk you through this here. So this is GetResponse. If you're with GetResponse, I'm going to show you how to do it. So you want to go over to this right-hand side here and go to create a campaign. So that's right here. You're going to create a campaign, and you're going to see this screen, create campaign, give it a name. So give each of your results a name. For the purpose of this tutorial, I'm just going to call everything results A, B, and C. So we've got results A here, and you would click on create a campaign. Once you've created that campaign and it has all the settings, required settings, you're going to click on messages here at the top. The drop down will come down. You'll click on create autoresponder. That will take you to this screen. You want it to be time-based, and you want it to start on day 0, and you want to click on the campaign that you just created right here. This is the bottom of the screen. You have some options here of when to choose it. I like to choose immediately so that it will send out as soon as someone finishes the quiz. Click it here to choose your message, and this is where you can craft your email for your autoresponder and give it a name. Like I said, I'm going to use results A for this purpose. Click save, and this is just to show you. This is one of my autoresponder sequences for the Bohemian Babe, and it just gives you a little preview of my email. So you can see that I just created some pictures in there. And yeah, I think that's okay, we're going to WordPress. So I'll go back here. And that's actually all you need to do with GetResponse at this point, is just go in and create. So you have to create a mailing list for each of the results groups, and then just create the autoresponder sequence for each of the results groups. And when you have a mailing list for each of the results groups, you just want to write out an email or emails for the autoresponder sequence. And don't forget to attach your PDF or other results materials. So I use Amazon AWS to host my PDFs, but you can also use something like Dropbox too. And just share the link and just say, you know, click here to download your free 10-page PDF or whatever it is. Just don't forget to place that download link to your PDF in your autoresponder email, and then you are all set. You might want to keep your mailing list provider dashboard open at this point in a new tab, because we will come back to this in a little bit in the tutorial. So you may have noticed that in the tutorial, we've actually been working backwards through the quiz. We haven't even scripted any of the questions yet. We started in the beginning by creating our why and our who, and then we went straight to the end, you know, so we're working backwards through the results. So at this point, what I want you to do is at step 5, you'll be sitting down here scripting out 10 to 20 questions. I think 10 to 20 is probably the perfect number of questions, as more than this kind of feels like overkill to me. And less than 10, it maybe is not as valuable. You know, it doesn't take a lot of time to answer 3 questions. I mean, you can do it with 3 or 4, but I think something like maybe in the 8 to 10 range is good. I mean, people don't have a lot of attention span anymore either, so definitely wouldn't give them a quiz with like 50 questions. But I don't know, you know, intuitively answer that question for your industry. Myers-Briggs tests, you know, have 100 questions, and people love taking them. So I think that you'll know what is the perfect amount of questions for your quiz. We want to stick with simple and easy here instead of complicated. So that means sticking with A, B, or C answers, where all the A answers correspond to A results, B answers to B results, etc. You get the picture. We don't want to be like twisting it up and saying like, oh, but they'll know if they click all A's that they're going to be an A. You know, like it just makes it too complicated to do the next part of the process. So you really want to keep it simple and just say A is A, B is B, C is C, and keep that same formula. Like if you're going to click all A's, then you're going to be an A result. If you click all B's, you're going to be a B result. So hopefully that makes sense to just keep it simple. And really, you'll understand when we go in and we build the quiz logic using Viral Quiz Builder. Because it's not the most intuitive program, so the simpler we can make our quiz, the better. And because you already know the results of the quiz, you can actually just reverse engineer the questions to guide your audience towards the results. That's why I think it's good to create the results before you do the questions, because it gives you more like intuitive, like if I know that Bohemian Babe is going to be one of the answers, then I can start picking out things, you know, for the brand quiz that was like picking out images and fonts and colors that I think would appeal to the Bohemian Babe, so kind of guiding her towards that path. So I think working backwards and coming up with questions that really fit in with the result that you're, you know, that you're either hoping people will choose, or just the one that will, you know, the thing that will be the most helpful for that person. So I would just sit down and craft like 10 to 20 questions. Images, they're completely up to you. Do the images add or detract from your quiz? I choose images personally because it makes sense to have images in a branding quiz. If your questions are more personal or reflective, I would definitely steer clear of images unless you can use something like high quality, really non-corny stock photography. Like I'd recommend someplace like Unsplash, or maybe just even properly credited images from Pinterest would be really good too. So I'd say write all your questions and potential answers down and gather any images that you'll use. You'll also need to write a blurb for each of the results that will appear directly after they take the quiz. So this is before they get the autoresponder sequence. This is something like, I don't know, you're a type A personality, you have these kind of characteristics, and you suffer from blah, blah, blah. Check your inbox for your free guide, and we'll dive deeply into your personality. So that's something you could potentially, you know, say just as the blurb. So you are at the point now where you've got like a ton of material all together for your quiz. You have the why behind your quiz, you have the autoresponder sequence all set up, the results set up, your questions set up, and any images, putting them all together. You are ready to do the heavy lifting with the tech side of things now. I'm going to be walking you through step by step and sharing some screen grabs so you can come back to this and make notes and pause wherever you need to, just so you can get the steps down. The first thing that you have to do is go to viralquizbuilder.com because you have to purchase a copy of the plugin software. Now, here's a little tip. When you go to the site, it's going to initially take you straight to the professional license, and this is $147, like $147. You don't need this. This is a professional license. It's for developers. They're trying to get you to buy the most expensive one. You don't need this unless you plan on potentially building quizzes for clients, like in a professional sense. Like I would use the developer's license and then use it as a service for clients. What you want is the other options that are underneath. So you either want the single site license, that's only $39. So I think it's a good investment to have this quiz populating your mailing list day in and day out, and actually giving you really high quality leads and putting them automatically, segmenting your list, you know, based on group interest and based on however you'd like to segment your list, you can use the quiz for. So the single site license is $39. Obviously, it just gives you access to the quiz on one site, or you can buy the multi-site license if you have multiple domains. So you can use it for multiple domains that you own rather than multiple domains for a client, which is why you would use the developer license versus the multi-site. But if you have several different sites, I mean, it's a good investment to just pay the $47 and then have it for yourself. The process is once you purchase it, once you purchase the plugin on viralquizbuilder.com, you will then receive an email with your customer code, and they'll send you a link to download the plugin zip file. So when you're at this point, you just want to download the zip file to your computer and log into your WordPress dashboard as we go through all of the boring bits in WordPress. So you log into WordPress, right? It should look like this, or maybe if you haven't upgraded to the new WordPress, which you should, maybe you'll just do that real quick and just update your WordPress. But it should look something like this, we'll say, unless you've got a super duper duper old version of WordPress, in which case you should really update. When we're at the home screen, I want you to go down on the left-hand sidebar to plugins right here and click on Add New right there. It will take you to this screen. We want to click on Upload Plugin here at the top. And it will move us to this screen. Choose File. Oh, just as a side note, the reason why I chose to do all of these screen shares rather than actually just doing a video of me walking through this is because, well, Mercury is in retrograde. My internet can go on the fritz at any time, and I didn't want you to be sitting here waiting for pages to load and me being like, so I thought I'll do it with screen shares and then I'll know that it will already be there. Although as I'm saying this, who knows if you can even hear me and this is recording fine. So fingers crossed, big time, 2 fingers crossed, 4 fingers crossed, that this is all going to plan and you are on the other side listening. Yeah, like I said, this is the first one. So even if it's all messing up at this point, I think it's fine. It'll be a learning experience. So hopefully you are here, you're listening, you're taking notes. It's all good. So once we're at this screen, you're going to click on Choose File and find the zip file from your desktop, and click on Install Now. That will install the plugin to your WordPress, and you will see on your left-hand sidebar that this viral quiz builder pops up on the sidebar. You'd like to hover over this guy and click here on the top, Viral Quiz Builder. It's going to take you here. Now, what's cool about this screen is once we get into Viral Quiz Builder itself, you'll see that there are 3 tutorial videos here at the top. So if you misplace the link to this one, or you don't take good notes, or it's just not working out the way that I'm explaining it, then you can go and watch these videos and see how they described how to do it. Underneath the videos, you will click on Add Quiz. So you can add a brand new quiz. Oops. Yes, Add Quiz. That's exactly what you're doing. Taking it to this screen here, first thing I want you to do is a little drop-down box here, and it automatically will be on Quiz for Points. I want you to choose Type A, B, C quiz. This is the easiest way, and this is how we've already organized our quiz, is to be an A, B, or C quiz. I want you to click on that. On the same screen, give it a name. I chose opt-in quiz, and you'll add variants here. So you want to click on Add Variant, and just like I said, I'll use results A, B, C for the purpose of this tutorial. You can give these any names that you want: Bohemian Babe, Girl Next Door, Ultra Luxe Femme, etc. You can choose to have your quiz either in a box or out of a box. Depends on what you want. You can play around with both and see what they look like. I chose to not have it in a box. It basically just puts a box around your quiz in your website. So I think maybe I missed a slide in between here and there. So you want to save quiz, and it will take you back to the home page, and you'll click on Add Questions, which will take you to this screen where you can add questions and answers. So you should see that your quiz name is up here. You should also see your results at the top. There will be an open bar for adding a question. So you will add your question, what is your favorite color? Put it in this box. And then you'll put your answers down here. Blue, green, purple. Make sure that these results correspond to the right results. I told you this is really dull and boring. I'm sorry. It's just, this is what it takes to make a quiz. But once it's done, you never have to worry about it again. So I promise this won't take very long, and I'll try to make it as pain-free as possible. So just make sure this is creating the quiz logic. And actually, this is a much easier way to do it than anything else that I've experienced. If you scroll down here, I'll show you in the next slide this more magnified, but where it says question content down here, you'll see it right here. So this is just scrolling down this page. You can add some extra media. So if you wanted to add a picture, for example, to each question, like my brand style quiz has a picture for almost every question. If you'd like to create that, so you click on here, Add Media, and in WordPress, that will open up your media files. So you can see these are media files that I already have in here, but you can choose to upload any pictures that you like. And you'll click on Insert into Post over here. Oops, I went backwards. Okay, so we saved the question, and it will take us back to the screen where we can add a new question. So you just continue doing the very same process that I just described of adding questions until you're done. So you can add your 20 questions. when you see this screen and you see all the questions lined up in a row, I just did one for this example. I didn't do more than one. So you'd see like 20 questions down here in a line. When you hover over it, you'll be able to drag and drop the questions if you want to change the order. You can also use these little up and down buttons over here. And when you're finished, make sure that you save the quiz. And then when you're finished and you have all of your questions and they're in the order that you'd like them to be, click on Edit Quiz Results page. That's just the same thing, Edit Quiz Results page. That's going to take you here, almost towards the end of the boring bit of the tutorial. First, you're going to click on Result Page Content. Click on Add Result Content. That will take you in here. So you'll click on Result A, for example. You're going to do the same thing for all three. So you have to make sure that all three have the results. So I just put, congratulations, your result A, and then I put a picture, you know, but you could have, this is where your blurb, you're going to put your little blurb in here. Congratulations, your result A, you know, you're like this, sign up for the detailed results and I'll send them to your mailing list. So you just want to give them a little like teaser blurb. Yeah, make sure that you'll see result A, result B, result C. Just make sure that you're on the right one and press save. You don't want to click on default up here. You want to make sure that there's different results for every part of the quiz. When you click save, that'll send you back again to this edit quiz results page. So there's results up here and it will show you result A, result B, result C when you've added them, and you can edit them or delete them or move them around. This result page badge and viral sharing is not something that I've used because I find the badges to be really ugly and not something that I actually want people to be like, I'm an A, I'm a B. But if you want to and you want to just look into there and see what you can do, I'm sure there's more functionality than I have figured out. It's not something that is important to me right now, but just to show you that it is definitely an option. So the last thing is opt-in gate settings. This is the most important part. This is the key part, so definitely take notes here. At this point, the quiz is not integrated with your opt-in forms at all. It's not integrated with any list. This is where we need to integrate your list. So you're going to click on Add Opt-in Form. Make sure that you have, in the drop-down box, clicked the right result. So make sure that result A corresponds to list A, result B to list B, result C to list C. Make sure you have clicked the right results. So we'll click on result A to integrate it with list A in the mailing list. You can display some content right above the opt-in form. So maybe it says something like, you know, sign up to find out your result. So you're not actually going to tell people the result until they've opted in. This will actually like increase your opt-in numbers if you don't tell people right away which one they are. And they'll have to give you their mailing list and then you'll send them the details. Then they'll get the little blurb after they sign up. So at the bottom of this form, at the top, you had where you could pick A, B, or C, and then you could add some things above the form. So this is the opt-in form configuration. In the drop-down, you can either choose to have just someone's email or their email and their name. I'll show you the next screen where I filled, oops, no. Not yet. Fill out the call to action. So sign up, you know, or learn more about your personality type or something like that. Submit button text. You could press submit now or, you know, send now. And then this is the most important part. So it's getting your autoresponder code right here. So you remember how we already have the tab open that has the mailing list. Mine is get response. So I'm going to go into my get response and go here to web forms. The drop down will come up and I'll just click on web forms. which will take me here to the web forms. And I want to go to view source. Find the list and make sure that it's A, you know, list A, list B, make sure it's the right name, and view source. This is the hardest part. We're almost through it. It will take you to this place. And this is pretty similar for all different mailing lists places. It's just getting to the web form. You want to show the HTML code. You don't want the JavaScript. You want HTML. When you get to the HTML, copy and paste the whole mother onto your clipboard. Come right back to WordPress. Stick that whole mother source code right into this box and click save. Now do the same thing for all 3 of your lists. Or see, this is what I was telling you, like do not have more than 3. 2, 3, this is all you want to do it for, or else you have a big old headache and you'll just want to go to bed and never do it. I think 3 really was the stretch of my limit. So make sure, what you want to check here is you want to make sure that you're got the right results, result A corresponding to list A. You want to make sure that you have the HTML code that you got from the source of your web forms on your mailing list. And if you have questions about this, you can ask me or you can ask your mailing list provider, and we will totally help you out with how to find this. Once you click save and you have all 3 of those, or all 2, integrated with your list, that is super sweet because you are almost done. The only thing I have to show you just before we're done with this really, really boring part is how to put this quiz on your actual website page. So how can people see it? We are back here on the home page of the Viral Quiz Builder. So remember, you get there by going down on this left-hand side, finding Viral Quiz Builder, and then just clicking on it. It will take you here. You can see now that we have the quiz. It's the opt-in quiz. And you can also see that I've already highlighted the short code here. So you want everything that's in the brackets, including the brackets. That's important. You need to take the brackets with you. So make sure that you copy all of this stuff here. On WordPress, if you're going to create a completely new page for the quiz, you will hover over Pages and click on Add New. If you just want to add this to a page that you already have, like maybe at the bottom, you just want to add a little quiz, or at the top, hover over Pages and click All Pages and find the page that you wanted to put it on so you can edit it. I chose to create a new page. So I hovered over Pages and then I clicked Click New, open, start new, or new page or something like that. It will open up this page. All you have to do is just paste that short code. Make sure the brackets are there too. You've got the quiz short code. Click Publish over here. And if you want to, you can click Preview right here at the top, or you can just navigate to that page to see what it looks like. So we'll see what our test quiz looks like. So this is our test quiz. If you click to have a box around it, these questions would have a box, a black box around them. I added a picture. Here are the questions. If we could scroll down, we could see, you know, that I could click Submit. This is what the opt-in gateway looks like. Unfortunately, you can't do a lot of customization here, or else I totally would have, because I think it's kind of ugly. And I was disappointed at a branding quiz to have an ugly opt-in, but that's why I put pictures around it. So this is me writing sign up to find out your result. And this is kind of the end. I mean, people will put their name and email in, they'll click sign up, and then any blurb that you had about the result will pop up after that, and it will just instruct them to go to their mailing list, because at this point they're automatically subscribed to your mailing list. Depending on whether you have single or a double opt-in set up on your autoresponder sequence, people might have to go and confirm their email address. So you might want to tell them in the blurb to make sure to go to their email inbox and look for your confirmation email and click confirm, you know, because not everybody knows that they have to click on a confirmation email. In certain, you know, it's always good to just educate your audience, I think, to let them know that they could find, you know, check in your check in your junk mail folder, check on your, for Gmail, your promotions tab. So I think it's always good to just educate people that like, it might not be where they necessarily expect it to be. So we are almost finished. And yeah, I know that that was a lot to digest, especially all of the technical stuff. So hopefully you can come back to this video and just jot down some more notes, or pause it and then just try to work along with the video as you go through it. I say set aside a few, a day or two, maybe 3 days to get the quiz up and running. Like I said, I think it's a really cool thing to do. I think it's really unique and interesting, and that it's definitely worth putting the time into actually creating this cool quiz, that will continue to educate or entertain your audience way past the amount of time that it takes you to put into it. So here are my top 3 key things to remember, kind of synthesizing the whole training for tonight, and some key takeaways that I want to, for you to leave with. Number 1 is to be original. I'd like you to really find ways to stand out in your industry. Several of you have already mentioned to me that you didn't feel like anyone was really doing this in your industry, and that this would be a great way to set yourself out from the rest of the tribe. And I really agree with that. And I think that it's a great way to position yourself differently in your industry. And just ask yourself, what kind of quiz can you create that will really knock the socks off of your audience? And not just in an entertaining way, but in a way that you feel like you've really gotten to the depth of who they are, the depth of who their soul, what their soul is. Because just remember that the quizzes, they don't have to be fun and frivolous. They can be serious or inspirational or informational. This is a way to really prompt some deep conversations with people, for your audience to feel like you really know them, you really get them, you really understand them. I think that's such a powerful experience to have. Yeah, so that is number 1. Number 2 is to reverse engineer the results and questions to tailor to your ideal customers. You don't need to include everyone, and recognize that some people might be a bit baffled, honestly, by your quiz because it doesn't pertain to them at all. And that's not a bad thing. I mean, on my quiz, I know the brand style quiz, I've already had a few comments about it wasn't inclusive of I don't know, goth girls or something. And well, that's not really my target audience, so that was totally okay with me. And my answer was kind of maybe that will come in the future, that there'll be another brand archetype, another brand style. And I have had a few clients that had a bit more of a rockerish kind of vibe, and so it's not that I'm averse to working with clients that fall under that style umbrella, but it's just, it maybe comprises 1% of my total audience, so it's not something that I'm actively pursuing at the moment. And that was okay. It was okay to me that several of the women have not found themselves in my quiz, because yeah, because frankly it's not in my ideal, it's not in the audience that I'm trying to reach, so the quiz doesn't have to be totally inclusive, and it's okay to remember that. And then the third thing that I just wanted to put out there was to just track your results and see what you can really learn from the data. So you might find the answer to a completely new offering. Or like me, you can totally scrap an idea that you were already working on and realize that it is not going to work for you, because the people just aren't there. So there you go, my 3 key things to remember. And so I really hope that this whirlwind tutorial, where we go through some boring techie things and some kind of lofty why goals, this tutorial into all things quizzy, I really hope that it's provided you with some sweet nuggets of wisdom tonight. You could totally go back through this video. You can stop at any slide and take notes as needed. So I think you can probably tell by my intro and this presentation that I am totally in love with the intersection between entrepreneurship, branding, design, and marketing with heart. It's the whole reason why I do pretty much everything that I do. It's the reason why I started my podcast and Facebook group for the Spirited Entrepreneur. It's also why I created the Brand Better course. And my plan is, from this point on, I want to continue to provide weekly content on these webinars for the Brand Better show, focusing on one topic at a time, on things that are both actionable, so even things that are, technical, to the loftier goals or the grand narrative, the big vision picture. But then I also want to throw in some heart-based things as well, because I think that all of these things are integrated, and that's important for me to teach and also to know as an entrepreneur, as a person. I think that most of what I do is connected. I'd like it to be connected. So what I teach is all connected, and what I talk about on these webinars or on the podcast or in the course is really just about building a better business with intention. And yeah, that does include the technical aspects too. It's not enough to just, positive think your way into like a kick-ass business. Like, you do have to learn how to, install WordPress plugins. And if you're bootstrapping it, like I've bootstrapped everything, if you are DIYing it, then you most certainly have to learn how to do the soul-based work, but you have to learn how to do the practical-based work too, and that's kind of the intersection that I come to, is just this, where the soul meets the practical, meets, the lofty, the goals as well. I would love to invite you to join me on the Brand Better online course. It's starting in a few weeks, January 15th. We're going to be going really deep into topics of branding and building a better business, but we're going to be doing it from a really soulful place too. If you liked the vibe of the webinar tonight and maybe have a few listens to the podcast, or join us over on the Spirited Entrepreneur group and see, just see if the community is right for you. Like, I really believe, that it's about finding the right teacher, and finding there are a million people that are, telling the messages of, like, even this, like how to create a quiz. Like, you could listen to some YouTube video, but I just think that there is the right person, so if you're vibing with my vibe, like, I would love for you to join the course. Just a little, really quickly, information about what we're going to be going through in the course. I'll send you the link to this. You can dive deeper into it at your leisure and see if it's right for you. So we'll be starting with communicating your why. So that's getting down to the core essence of why your brand exists in the world, so that you can connect deeply with your ideal customers. Next, it's know your audience, diving deep into the psychology of your ideal customer, so that you can position your products and services directly to the customers who want and need them the most. Tell your story. This is probably my favorite of all of them, which is learning how to channel your inner copywriter, so that you can write compelling copy that sells products and services effortlessly. I love to write. I love to teach about writing. I think that all branding is storytelling, and I think it is really just the core of everything. The next week, we move on to visual branding. Also really passionate about this. As a designer, visual branding is really important to me. You need to keep your website, your blog posts, and your social media accounts on brand. And now this is going to tell you how to, find out how to actually do it. It's a 7-week course, so the next week we'll move into developing your brand die. This goes beyond branding 101, and you learn how to develop a recognizable brand style. So this is beyond the logo and the colors. This is like, so someone can look at your work, your social media account, and say, I know this is, Penelope's work. She has such a distinctive style. I can always tell it's her. It's just works so beautifully. This is what all the big brands do. It's something that the little guys, I don't really see a lot, doing this, developing the brand eye. It's really important to create that cohesiveness throughout all of the brand messaging. And kind of piggybacking on that is the next week is developing your brand's voice. So this is similar to the brand's eye, but it's for the written word. It's how to channel and perfect a brand's voice that is distinctly you. It's how all of your newsletters sound like you. And you know this, you know it in some of your favorite brands that you could, someone could read it out to you and you'd have no other clues and you'd say, yeah, that is Danielle Laporte. I can tell because she has a distinctive voice. That's Alexandra Franson. She has a distinctive voice. That's Marie Forleo. I know who that is. I could read their writing separated from them, and I would be able to pinpoint that's who this person is because they are using their distinctive brand voice. And so I'm going to teach you how to dive a bit deeper into that. And last but not least, we go into branded content, which is something that a lot of little brands aren't doing, but it can really elevate your brand so much. This is learning from the big guys that are creating branded content. And this was really the buzzword for 2014, 2015. So this is learning how to create content that's primed to go viral, that turns your customers into raving fans and gets your brand in front of tons of new eyes. So this is creating content that creating massive value for your tribe and really growing your list and using all of the pieces from storytelling to visual branding to creating your brand's voice and your brand's eye. I mean, this goes way beyond the logo. Branding is so much more than the logo. This is creating the heart and the soul of your business and executing it and communicating it in a way that you become recognizable in the world and people know who you are, what you stand for, and what you provide in the world. The program just includes 7 weeks of video and PDF lessons. You get a Brand Better workbook, actionable strategic plans. You also get a bonus, which is free access to a course that I did maybe 6 months ago that was really cool. It's called Bootstrappers Brand Camp. And this was more into the technical aspects of design. So if you are doing your logo yourself, if you're doing your website yourself, if you're DIYing your social media, like this is the complete brand design from a visual perspective. So this is mood boards and logo workshops and how to, DIY your website. Like you're going to get all of this stuff with it. It's $147 value. You get it for free with the program, the Brand Better program. That is just my gift from you. I created it. I wanted to be part of the program. I started out with creating branding that was visual. I wanted to go deeper. This is the program that goes deeper. It's about getting to the core of your brand. And yes, your logo and your colors and your fonts, that's important too. That's why I'm throwing in the Bootstrappers Brand Camp course with the rest of this stuff. But I think you need to get down to the why. You need to get down to the heart of it. So like I said, class starts June 15th. If you sign up today or throughout the weekend, you're going to get a discount of $200. It's $197. You can join with us. I mean, the other cool thing is, as an totally extra special bonus, I had this idea right before I got on the call. I didn't tell anyone about it, so you guys are the first to hear it. But anyone who signs up through this live webinar today, that is provided that you can hear me and everything is gone okay, and there are actually some people that can hear me on the call. If you sign up to the live webinar today or on the replay that is going to be going all weekend until Sunday, you're going to be entered into a contest for a chance to win a 90-minute branding coaching session with me. So we are going to rip your brand apart, go through all of the pieces of it, have a really deep conversation about what you need, and I'm going to give you some honest feedback about where I think that you can take your brand. So if you think that sounds cool and you would love to win that, sign up for the course. You have from now until Sunday night, and I will be announcing the winners on Monday. Well, that is totally it for today's show. I'm spent. I put my heart and soul into this webinar. We've been on here for an hour and a half. So happy if you're still here with me, if you've taken notes, if you're ready to do your quiz, if you're ready to join the community, you know, just reach out to me. I'm so excited to get to learn. You know, I had so many people join my list today for this webinar, and I can't wait to communicate with you more. You're all people that I have never had the pleasure of interacting with before, and I appreciate that you're here. Even if you're just listening to the replay and you weren't live, I still am so appreciative that you're here. Have a wonderful night. It's 8:30 at night for me. I have been saving up a cup of tea for myself as a reward for finishing this webinar. That is all for today's show, and I would love to see you live with me next week on the show, or maybe you'll be listening to the replay. Have you over on the podcast, listening to the podcast, or maybe even join me over on the course. Until next time, have such a great day. Sending so much love, good vibes. Thank you. I appreciate you. You're wonderful and lovely, and I just want your business to succeed so much and your life to succeed so much. All right, bye. Mwah.